Brottier Furro was born in 1729, the son of Sangram Furro, the Prince of Dukandara in Africa, now Guyana. Raiders on his village by African warriors killed his father and captured young men. Brottier was 6.5 years old, but had to keep up on the 1,000-mile walk to the infamous Fort William in Benegal, a holding pen for Africans destined for slavery in the Americas. All of us were then put into the castle and kept for market. On a certain time, I and other prisoners were put on board a canoe under our master and rowed away to a vessel belonging to Rhode Island. I was brought on board by one Robertson Munford, a steward of said vessel, and sold for 4 gallons of rum and a piece of calico cloth. He called me Venture on account of his having purchased me with his own private venture fund. Thus I came by my name. The middle passage was rough. They began with 260 captives, but 60 died of a smallpox outbreak on board. The remaining captives were sold in Barbados, excepting Venture and 3 others who were taken to New England. He was taken to Mumford's home on Fisher's Island, New York, and became a lawyer worker. Despite his noble service, Venture was often beaten by the master's son. He grew to physical commanding manhood at over 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, with broad, strong shoulders. Venture was sold 3 times to relentless owners. His finer owners showed him some level of respect by allowing him to work to buy his freedom. Therefore, once free, he took the last name Smith after Colonel Oliver Smith. 1765. I hired myself out at Fisher's Island, earning 20 pounds. 13 pounds, 6 shillings of which my master drew for the privilege, and the remainders I paid for my freedom. This made 51 pounds, 2 shillings, which I paid him. In October following, I went and corded 400 cords of wood, besides thrashing out 75 bushels of grain, and received for my wages down only 20 pounds, which left remaining a larger sum for the master. Being 36 years old, I left Colonel Smith once more and for all. I had already been sold 3 different times, made considerable money and seemingly nothing to derive for it, had been cheated out of a large sum of money, lost much of by misfortune, and paid an enormous sum for my freedom. Once free, Smith moved to Long Island in 1769. After cutting wood and investing the money he made, he purchased his sons Solomon and Cuff for $200 each. Later, he purchased his wife and daughter. In 1775, Smith bought a farm at Haddon Neck on the Salmon River in Connecticut. By 1778, he had expanded the initial 10 acres to form a farm of at least 130 acres. Additionally, he made a living by fishing, whaling, and trading in the Long Island Basin. He lived the remainder of his life at Haddon Neck. Despite the curse of slavery, Smith purchased several black slaves to work his farm and businesses. He prospered by sheer determination, but discriminatory setbacks were profound. I met with another loss by no less wicked means. One hogshead of the molasses had been lost overboard by the people attempting to land in on the wharf. Although I was absent at the time, I was nevertheless prosecuted by this conscientious gentleman and obliged to pay upwards of 10 pounds lawful money, with all the costs of court. I applied to several gentlemen for counsel in this affair, and they advised me to pay the sum and admit to the injury, which I accordingly did. And he had often since insultingly taunted me with my unmerited misfortune. Such a proceeding as this, commanded on a defenseless stranger, almost worn out in the hard service of the world, without any foundation in reason or justice, whatever it may be called in a Christian land, would in my native country have been branded as a crime equal to highway robbery. But Captain Hart was a white man, and I a poor African. Therefore, it was all right, and good enough for the black dog. But among all my griefs and pains, I have many consolations. Meg, the wife of my youth, whom I married for love and bought with my own money, is still alive. My freedom is a privilege which nothing else can equal. Notwithstanding all the losses I have suffered by fire, by the injustice of knaves, by cruelty of my own African countrymen, whom I have assisted and redeemed from bondage, I am now possessed of more than 100 acres of land and 3 habitable dwelling houses. It gives me joy to think that I have and that I deserve so good a character, especially for truth and integrity. In 1798, Smith dictated a narrative of the life and adventures of Venture, a native of Africa, but resident above 60 years in the United States of America, related by himself. With family assistance, it was printed by The Bee in New London, Connecticut. Smith died in 1805.